Welcome back to Hardball. Rick Santorum, the former senator from Pennsylvania, made a strong showing when he ran for the Republican nomination in 2012. He outlasted everyone except Mitt Romney. He won 11 states, including a win in the Iowa caucuses. Polls showed he had the strong support in that campaign of conservatives. And yet, 4 years later, he's struggling to crack the pivotal top 10 in a crowded GOP field. According to the average of the 5 most recent national polls, the criterion Fox News is using for that first debate in August, Santorum ranks just shy of the cutoff point. But is Rick Santorum being underestimated? I'm joined right now by the former senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum. Senator, thank you for joining us. Boy, you got a tan. So let me ask you
good to be with you.
Let me ask you this: are you going to take the little kids table? You're going to go to that forum that the Fox has offered to people that don't make the top 10 sometime in the afternoon between 1 and 3?
Yeah, I'm really not going to worry about that, Chris. I mean, I'm going to work hard. Have been working hard. Yeah, I'll take every opportunity, like coming on to Hardball, for example. I'll come on to every place to get our message out there and to try to win voters over. That's what we did last time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we're building a good, solid team across. I'm here in South Carolina. We got a great team down here. We've had some great events since I've been here, and we'll just keep doing it the grassroots way. National polls, as you know, Chris, when I ran and won the Iowa caucuses 4 years ago, I was at 4% in the national polls, and I won the caucus. So I don't really pay much attention to those.
Well, let's talk about your bracket. You represent the cultural conservative aspect of the Republican Party's traditional values. Where do you stand on the issue of same-sex? It looks like, I mean, I look at the party platform was pretty strong last time around when you were running again. Constitutional amendment defining marriage as a union between one man and one woman. If that goes, do you go?
Well, I don't think it's going to go. I think we're gonna make sure that stays in. I don't know of a single Republican running who is going to run against that platform of traditional marriage. So I don't anticipate that going, and I think there's a strong case to be made that the court decision, was really bad on a lot of fronts. Number one, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, set aside the issue, for example, of gay marriage, and look at the fact that the United States Supreme Court just basically, as Justice Roberts said, out of nowhere, completely without constitutional basis, created another right. Is that really the role of the court? I mean, have they taken over from as Justice Scalia said, we've gotten rid of our democracy when 9 people can decide what the rights are in this country instead of the collective will of the American people. And so you've got a real issue there of the role of the judiciary, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, and you have a real serious First Amendment issue here, Chris. The fact that the justices said you're allowed to teach what we in the Catholic Church, you're a Catholic as I am, they're saying to you and me, Chris, you're allowed to teach what you want, but they didn't say you could practice what you want. I mean, that's a very clear sign that the court's open to having churches being told how to practice their faith.
You think that's coming?
Do you think they would?
Do you think the court would ever take the overreach of saying you have to have gay marriage in the Catholic Church? How would they do that? How would that ever actually happen?
I think if you'd have said 10 years ago, 15 years ago maybe, that we would be in this position, most people would have said you're crazy. In fact, when I offered the constitutional amendment on marriage back in 2004, everyone said, oh, this is premature. This will never happen. There's no reason for us to be concerned about this. So I would just say that you don't know what's going to happen until you look at the tea leaves. And you look at the tea leaves in this decision, they left it very wide open for example, the government to say that if you're a church that doesn't allow this kind of marriage, we're not going to give you your 501c3 status, which is your nonprofit status. And even the Solicitor General of the United States said that that's an open question. So, yes, I think they could be bullied into doing something that they don't want to do.
Well, that could mean they could force the Catholic Church into having female priests, too. I don't think they can go that far. I just don't think they can. Anyway,
I don't think that's the same issue. I think this is a very different issue.
Anyway, this weekend, Jeb Bush responded to comments that Donald Trump made about Mexican immigrants in this country being rapists and bringing drugs and crime and all that. We know that quote. Let's watch.
His views are way out of the mainstream of what Republicans think. No one suggests that we shouldn't control our borders. I mean, everybody has a belief that we should control our borders, but to make these extraordinarily ugly kind of comments is not reflective of the Republican Party.
Who wins this argument within your caucus, within the Republican Party?
I mean, does anybody really think that Donald Trump isn't going to say some outrageous things? I mean, that's what Donald Trump does. I mean, the idea that we're now going to police Donald Trump's speech is almost ridiculous on its face. You know, he's a flamboyant guy who says things that are edgy and marginal, and
yeah.
You know what? As you know, Chris, everybody has the right to say those things. I think we've got a lot of speech police that are going around saying, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. Do I agree with everything that Donald Trump says? Of course not. I wouldn't be running for president if I agreed with everything that everybody said and wanted to do. But Donald Trump brings up a very important issue, which is the issue of immigration. And
I agree.
You know, if you look at,
I wish their party had dealt with it. Why didn't your party deal with it in the House of Representatives and get it behind us? Put in teeth in terms of illegal hiring and that kind of thing. Move ahead instead of just letting it sit there for a guy like him to exploit. Isn't that the problem?
Well,
the House hasn't acted.
I agree with you that. Well, I always go back to the president, and when he had 2 years of a Democratic Congress and could have done anything he wanted and never even introduced an immigration bill. So to point to the Republican Congress when the president had 60 votes in the Senate, was able to pass a health care bill, but he didn't even propose an immigration bill.
Okay.
And to blame Republicans on that, I think, is just a little bit disingenuous. The bottom line is, though, you're right. We do need to do something on immigration. And if you look at my position on immigration, it says that we do need to use E-Verify, and we do need to eliminate folks who are working here illegally. And you know, we have to enforce the law when it comes to the border. I mean, these are just sort of basic things that enforcing the law and protecting American workers, and that's where I come from, that we've seen wages flatline for the last 20 years for most workers in this country. And we've seen a record number of immigrants come into this country, and it's not a coincidence that the two are tied together.
Let me think that you're thinking aloud and smart on this. Let me ask you a couple of questions. On the Supreme Court, you've questioned it. I think what you said about the Supreme Court coming up with rights that weren't written in the Constitution is fair, except the Supreme Court in the Brown case back in '54 said there was something essentially unequal about separate but equal. They found that there was, you know, the Roe v. Wade, they found a penumbra of privacy. This isn't the first time the Supreme Court has found something in the Constitution they say is inherent in our rights, in our Bill of Rights, that they could then illustrate or bring to life. But what are you going to do about it?
Well,
I mean, Trump's out there. I'm sorry, Ted Cruz is a lawyer, went to Harvard, whatever, law school, and he's coming out saying retention elections. I mean, damn it, these elections are now costing presidential candidates $1 billion a year, and you're talking about judges running for re-election? I think, well, I'm going to have them on Wednesday. I think it's ludicrous. How can we have judges running around the country running for re-election on the Supreme Court? What a hoot. Your thoughts?
I don't support what Ted has proposed, but the bottom line is the first time this substantive due process argument was used, as you know, Chris, because Justice Roberts talked about it at length in his dissent, was during the Dred Scott case. So the court can do things that you like using these kinds of unconstitutional creation of ideas of what you know, these penumbra of rights, this sort of mystical clause that Justice Kennedy likes to use. They can do things you like, and they can do things you don't like. The point is, they shouldn't be doing either. That should be up to the American public to make this decision. And whether you're a liberal or a conservative, don't you want the republic, the democratic process of this country to make these kinds of decisions? And when we've seen the court step in and short-circuit the debate, it doesn't end up well. And you can talk about Roe, but Roe still is a very divisive issue in this country 40 years later. The court didn't settle it, And I don't think they're going to settle it here either.
You're right, they didn't settle it. And Ruth Ginsburg, some other people agree on the liberal side of things. Let me ask you about that flag flying down there still. You say you're not a South Carolinian, you don't want to get involved, but as a flag, what does it say to you as an American? What's that stars and bars say to you?
Well, I was in Charleston at the time this all came down. In fact, I sat in Mother Emanuel Church on the Sunday following the shooting. And what I saw was something incredible, remarkable. Which was a healing process going on where faith and these people of faith reached out and used reconciliation and forgiveness to bring a community together. And everybody wants to talk about what's going on 2 hours away in Colombia instead of what went on that really did bring this country together and bring this community together. I've been in Charleston a lot since then, and the sense and the feeling of this community is stronger than it's ever been unified. And I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit discouraged that the media wants to focus on a flag instead of the tremendous reconciliation that has occurred here in the city of Charleston.
But if they keep that flag up, you won't get reconciliation, will you?
I don't know. I mean, what I've said, I think my guess is that the people of South Carolina, will make the right decision, and they'll go on from there. I'm not concerned at all about what happened in Charleston having a positive effect, not just in South Carolina, but throughout the country.
I think that flag's coming down this week anyway. Rick Santorum, thank you so much for coming on. You're always welcome here, sir, even if you're not welcome over at that other place when they're just limiting it to 10 guys. We have more room over here.
I'll be happy to come back, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick Santorum.